What up and welcome to the Beneath the Dirt podcast. I'm your host, Bone. Thank you for tuning in. Here we are. I told y'all I was bringing you 2 podcasts a week. I'm hoping I can keep this shit consistent. And when I was thinking about doing 2 podcasts a week, I wanted to reach out to people that I've had on the show previously, haven't had on the show, but one guy I wanted to get on the show, a dude I fuck with, is DCFaygoGuy. What's good, dude? What's going on?
What up, y'all? It's been a fucking minute. I actually went back and looked at the last time we did this together, and it's been about 2.5 years almost.
It's been a long ass time. 2021, I was like, all right, this is the year we're going to do guests out the ass. And I did the exact opposite of that. I had like 4 people on the entire year, something like that. So, but yeah, we kicking it. I'm glad you're a part of the show.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely. I fucks with your content and all that shit. You went, how do I word this? You went almost full twisted on me a couple months ago with the subliminals on the Yum Yum Bedlam review. And I was like, yo. And then I hit you up. I was like, yo, you can say my name, dude. I don't give a fuck. I didn't take it as disrespect at all.
I'm good. I'm glad. My thing about that is I never want anybody to think that I'm trying to take shots, but like the content I do watch and I disagree with, like I feel like I have to fucking mention it,
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with having a difference of an opinion and still just chilling, shooting the shit, no shit slinging at the other person.
Right. That's what we need more of, is being able to communicate without having fucking issues because of our opinions and shit.
Yeah, man. Like, if I don't like an album, so the fuck what? If you like the album, I'm not over here. Fuck DC. That album sucks. I don't fuck with him no more. He likes that album. Fuck him.
Right. Subliminals, man. I fucking wore the hat kind of on purpose. So,
yeah, man. I thought that was funny when I was watching the video. I was like, oh, come on. Like, unless you were saying some foul shit, I was like, he ain't saying nothing crazy here. He's just, he disagrees with my opinion. That's it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about. I did want to bring that up right off the bat because I thought that was fucking funny.
Yeah.
And it's all love. And, but you just dropped a video, I think last week, talking about, do artists need record labels? And yeah, I thought that was a good video. You had good points. I've talked about it on the podcast numerous times. My stance on, does an artist need a record label in this day and age? They don't.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do the shit, upload everything to Spotify, YouTube, whatever. But the one benefit that a record label can give you, and I think there are certain artists that do benefit from a record label, having that backing, the financial backing, I think is the most important part.
Yeah.
Because that and the connections.
That was one thing I've actually mentally thought about too, and I didn't even mention it in the actual video. Was one thing I've always kind of griped about with ABK is whenever he does shit with Psychopathic Records, the beats always fucking bang. And I don't want to say that ABK doesn't have the resources or the means to get those kind of good dope ass beats, but whenever he drops shit with Psychopathic, Medicine Bag to me is his best fucking album. And since then, he still puts out great music, but the beats don't hit quite the same. There's every now and again he'll have it sprinkled. So my hope is that he'll like stay connected with Straight Jacket, because Straight Jacket is one of my favorite fucking producers out there.
And ABK was one of the names I was going to mention, and that I have mentioned in the past. His work on Psychopathic is just so solid, from just sound quality wise, beats, like you said. I think he's somebody, for whatever reason, just benefits having that label backing behind him.
Yeah. Well, another thing too is like when he's been doing features with M&E artists lately, he fucking outshines some of them to me. And you know, a lot of it I feel is he's got that really fucking banging beat that he just lets loose on. And for whatever reason, it just some of his solo shit's like it's missing some of that. So yeah.
Yeah, he could benefit having a 7 producing his shit. I don't know who produces his stuff. But you know, having a guy like 7 produce his shit, even Young Wicked, that Shapeshifter EP was fire.
Yeah.
Really good. Straight Jacket, like you said, Straight Jacket seems like he's that go-to engineer in the underground right now. Like Twisted has gone to him now. ICP been using him for the last few years. Ala Zulu used them on his their last project they put out. So he seemed like that guy, and he puts out, you know, a good sounding quality product. So
Yes. That Hello remix on Double Dragon. God damn.
yeah, he's doing his thing. But yeah, your video, I say, no artists don't necessarily need a label. Yes, certain artists could use that label for connections to get features. You know, could if when Young Wicked put out Return of the Prodigal Son, if he wasn't on M&E, would he have been able to get that Mac Lethal feature? Would he have been able to get that Ritz feature? I don't know.
Yeah. Probably not.
I think having you know Twisted having relationships with those guys helps a lot in that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of shit and points that I definitely left out, and I've gone back and rewatched that video, and I started to mention the record contracts, recording contracts, and I like completely just went this way and didn't even finish what I was saying about that shit because I meant to say that a lot of times they only have 1 or 2 album deals with these labels and they fulfill that contract. So why renew it if you have the means now to do it on your own? And I didn't even mention that in the fucking video. I mentioned it and then moved the fuck on from that topic.
and then you got guys like Ouija Macc.
Yeah.
I don't know if he just had a 1 album deal with Psychopathic or what, but he put Gutter Water is the only official project released on Psychopathic, and he took that fucking ball and ran with it heavy. He ran with that ball so fucking hard. He's been going crazy ever since, just constantly putting out merch, music, and he's at a point where he you know, he had Ritz on Wasteland. Seems like he's at a point where he could just reach out to these guys and get a feature.
Well, and with that kind of momentum for other artists out there, how would you not want to be a part of that too? You know, it's hard not to notice somebody who's fucking grinding their ass off.
True. Yeah. I mean, Ouija's the definition of grinding. You know, it's depending on who you were a fan of or not. Like some dudes don't take that opportunity and just disappear and just you're like, what the fuck happened to this guy? Like he's gone. Look at Light. Look at Light. He's finally back. But where like he came out, dropped the EP, toured with ICP a little bit, and then was just gone.
Yeah, he's exactly who came to mind when you said that shit.
Yeah. Like what the hell? Like but yeah. Do you necessarily need a label? No. But some artists do, you know? Cuz like we were talking in the pre-show, you know, the thing of doing content on your own as opposed with other people, it's all on you.
Yeah.
If you don't put shit out, that shit's on you. If I don't put out a podcast on a Monday, I got nobody to blame but myself. You know what I mean? Like if I just decided to fucking sit there and play Call of Duty all weekend instead of recording a show, and then motherfuckers hit me up like, "Hey, why you didn't put some shit out?" Well, that's my fault. It ain't nobody else's fault but my own.
That is one thing I'm super fucking guilty of. I have a lot of hiatuses, if you would call them, where I just won't fucking record and upload shit for a while. Like the entire month of November was just dead for me. But I also had a lot of shit going on, and then a lot of times I just come home and I don't even fucking want to do nothing but sit and play my motherfucking Switch.
Yeah, man, it's you know, the do I want to say liability? I don't think it's liability. I can't think of the fucking word I want, but yeah, man, it's all up to the artist, creator, whatever you want to call it, to put out that the quality shit, investing in your shit. You know, I'd like to see ABK. I would honestly like to see ABK join M&E. I feel like he would benefit from it. You know, it's clear he ain't psychopathic anymore. It seems like ICP ain't fucking with Killer at this point. And if he would have joined M&E, I think it would be beneficial for himself. Even though I've seen Monoxide on live streams, people asking, yo, is ABK going to be on M&E? He's like, no, he could do his own thing. And I'm like, he can, but I'd like to see him. It just seems like when he has that backing, he could put out a better product.
Yeah. Well, and maybe not even so much of just signing with M&E, but M&E Beats, is that still a thing? Honestly, and this is not from a hater standpoint. This is me saying I'm not keeping up with them like I probably could and should. But is M&E Beats still a thing?
I know Godsynth was running M&E Beats, and he split ways with M&E. He still is cool with them, you know, according to him, and works with them. But it seems like once he left, that M&E Beats thing just kind of died out.
Okay. Well, because the other thing that I was going to say even is just getting hookups with beats like that, or, you know, maybe studio time. I don't know. Like we were just saying, I don't really know where ABK gets his production from, you know, where his means of doing that is. But
Yeah.
If he went and recorded at the dojo and just still put it out on Native World Entertainment or Native World Inc., goddamn, there's so many corporations out there and shit. But if he was to put it out still on Native World, just use their studio and got beats from them, you know, I still think that would be fucking dope as well.
Kind of like, well, M&E does have the Welcome to the Underground label, which is similar to Strange's It Goes Up, where it's like, here, we will provide you these services. And not saying he has to join Welcome to the Underground, but if he would just maybe utilize, I'm sure fucking M&E wouldn't have a problem with it. You know, work it out, schedule or what. But where is Killer with the music, though? Where is Killer with the music?
Yeah, he was kind of grinding there for a minute, and then he just stopped.
That Rider EP, that solo Rider EP that he put out was fucking dope.
Yeah.
That was fire. That was really good. It was mixed really well. He killed that shit.
Yeah, the packaging, fucking bootleg as a motherfucker, but that's what adds to it to me.
Yeah. I would have liked better packaging myself. I get the point that people bring up, but I'm like, it's still unacceptable. It's not. To me, that's unacceptable. But the music, which is really what matters, was fucking fire on there. And then he released that Lost Warrior Chiefs 2.
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't even listened to that because I bought it right around the time that I started listening to Lokey, and he's consumed me.
Yeah.
So
Lokey's that fucking guy. I think I got halfway through the Lost Warrior Chiefs, or whatever the fuck it's called. Lost
Sessions of the Warrior Chief, I think.
Yeah, Lost Chiefs. Yeah. I can't do it. But
ABK's Forgotten Freshness.
Basically. And I wanted to listen to it because there's a track with ICP and Esham on there, and that shit's dope. Like, that's straight from like 04, 05. Like, you could tell that's like Hell's Pit kind of era right before Esham left. And they killed that shit. That was a dope ass track.
I need to go back and listen to it.
Yeah. But you bring up Lokey. I know Lokey for you last year was, Lokey for me last year was that guy too. He had album of the year for me with Metanoia. I love that album.
It is fucking dope. My wife loves that album, and I got her a copy of it, and it won't play in her car. And I'm like, fuck, because she's got an older car. For whatever reason, it will not listen. It will not play certain CDs. So, yeah, unfortunately, she's not even able to listen to it now.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that album, amazing album. Pretty easily my favorite album of the year. I played the shit out of that album. especially when it first dropped. And it was, what, 8, 9 songs? It was a short listen, but I would just let that motherfucker just go over and over, just bring it back, bring it back. It was so good. You know, Lokey doing that rock sound. It was completely different from anything that he's kind of, maybe not completely different, but, because with the Oracle albums, he would still have a little bit of rap incorporated into the music. But, his expansion of or branching out into different genres has just been incredible. I've been listening to Lokey. I first heard Lokey when he toured with Blaze and Boondocks on, what the fuck was that tour called? The cemetery tour. I can't remember right now, but he was on tour with Blaze then, and he had an EP on sale there, and it was just like a bunch of random songs thrown on it was like a CDR disc. It was like $5. I was like, show is dope. I'll peep the music. And ever since then, I've been bumping Lokey. That was like 07, maybe 06, 07.
Damn.
So yeah, I went, and at the time he had just dropped Solo. It was like his first official full length album. And if you listen to Solo and then you listen to fucking Lokey now, it's like, what? This is completely different. Like Solo's like a hip hop album.
Yeah.
There's barely any wicked shit on there, even though he was doing wicked shit at the time. But yeah, what he's doing now. And I remember you asking people for what to listen to, and I've heard you say you've gravitated more towards the Oracle albums.
Yeah. Everybody was like, go listen to Chainsaw Symphony, go listen to American Monster, Let's Get Violent. Like everybody wanted me to check out the horrorcore shit. But since I just went backwards and then I remembered you hyping the fuck out of Eyes of Parasuva, I'm like, let's go check this out. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is a fucking juggalo rapper and he's doing music like this. I'm like, I just kept going from there and I went straight to every Oracle album. Then I hit Shadowland after that. And I was like, okay, I could see where he was starting to change. And this was kind of like, all right, we're going to experiment with these albums. And he's fucking talented. That's all I can say. And I was like, I should have been listening to Roan a long time ago when he was talking about Lokey. And I've mentioned it in videos, man. You're on Lokey's left nut and I'm on the right nut now. Because,
I think the Cabal project helped Lokey because Lokey has been, he's been doing his own thing for a long ass time, but I think it helped bring new eyes to Lokey. That album was the Cabal album. It's just the best wicked shit album of 2021, in my opinion. I fucking love that album. Like,
hands down.
It's super dark. I love how it sounds like they're recording this shit together. I don't know how Bukshot does it to where he's getting these collab projects sounding like they're recording together, but they're across the country from each other, all over the place. But yeah, Lokey killed it on there. Mr. Gray killed it, Bukshot, but it was definitely a project where more eyes were brought to Lokey.
Yeah, well, for sure for me, because when I was listening to it, I was like, okay, so this is Lokey. This is who Roan's talking about. And like each song, I'm like, fuck, dude, fuck. And then Devil Inside, I was like, okay, let's go check out more Lokey. And that's just exactly what I did, because that fucking verse, goddamn, like Violent J has always been great at painting a picture for you with his rapping. I literally visualized that shit when I listened to it. I was like visualizing this angel in the fucking sky, and I'm like, crazy.
That's probably the best verse on the album. I love that song. That's my favorite song. Lokey kills the hook. His verse is so descriptive on there. It's just wicked shit at its finest. Like, they killed that album, and it's, as someone who's been a longtime fan of Lokey, it's just dope to see him get more shine and more eyes put on him. Even though, like I said, he's been doing fine, but everybody could always use more eyes. I think it brought more eyes to Bukshot. It brought more eyes to Mr. Gray. Like,
yeah,
it's like, like these dudes brought it on this project. Have you checked out any of his other like horrorcore shit yet?
Oh yeah, I've American Monster. I've listened to. I've listened to The House. I've listened to Let's Get
The House is
Violent.
a classic.
Yeah. How would you classify Chameleotic? Would you say that's more hip hop? I would say it's more hip hop personally, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's more hip hop. That's a lot more of a personal album for
Yeah.
Lokey. I remember when he put out Chameleotic, that was supposed to be his last album. There was
Really?
I would say there was a good 2-3 years from when Chameleotic dropped and Shadowland dropped. Chameleotic dropped and he was like, I'm out of here. That's it. I'm done.
You know, that explains the end of an era, because I remember listening to that. I was like, I felt like this was the beginning of an era, but he has a song "End of an Era," and he even references the oracles in that album. So I guess I never understood that song, but that makes sense then if he was planning to kind of step away.
Yeah. But he's still here doing his thing. But yeah, he's always done the wicked shit really well. Like The House. I like the first House better than the second one. I think the second one's dope too. But because The House was, I think he only had like The House out, Solo out, and then his first EP, Follow Me, and maybe the first Jackin' for Beats when I first found him. But that House album, like The Attic, oh man, I love that song. It's so dope. Like he just does the wicked shit so well.
Yeah,
So
I haven't checked out House 2 yet. The biggest issue I have is I go listen to some of his older albums and then I'm right back visiting the fucking oracles. Like
Yeah.
that's what I mean. I've gravitated to them. I've been branching out, but those oracle albums just keep sucking me back in. Because there was one day on his Instagram, so he had shared somebody's story where it played "Remember" off of Dedicated, and I'm like, this is a fucking dope song. I got to go find it. And I went and I just searched, started hitting every single song in different albums, thinking this has to be it. And I found it. And I was like, all right, Dedicated's a fucking dope album too. That one gets a lot of rotation as well, but it's super short. That's probably why.
The OG pressing of Dedicated, I remember when that came out, it was like it was supposed to be kind of like a Patreon kind of thing. It was like you pre-order the album, he's gonna make it, and then he puts your name in the credits.
Oh,
I have the OG pressing of it. I pre-ordered it. My name is in the credits of that shit. So if you have the OG pressing of that shit, my name is in there. So it's pretty dope.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is a dope EP. Have you checked out any of the Mission Infect stuff?
Not yet. I know that's a big thing he was a part of, and I remember Cali Green Too Fresh talking about it back in like 2011, maybe 2014, somewhere in that. I think it was more like 2014. But he made a video on Carnival Spirits about it, and it's one of those things where it's like I could have been exposed and introduced to Lokey a lot sooner. I just have tunnel vision like a motherfucker.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's one of those kick myself in the ass because I could have been part of the fucking ride a long time ago.
that's the thing with this scene is the tunnel vision, like you explained. When I first found ICP and Twisted, that was it for a good 2-3 years. That was literally it. I don't give a fuck. I listened to Most Tasteless and Great Malenko 1,700 times. That's it. That's all I was listening to. It didn't matter. Like that's all I had time for was that shit.
Yeah.
That was one of the things when I started this podcast. It was like, I know people have tunnel vision when it comes to this scene. If I could put some people onto some other shit. Now, there are people that listen to a lot of shit. I was proven wrong pretty quickly that people's music, people have really good or different tastes in music and do expand. But there are some people that are just just focused on a few things.
Yeah, I've noticed that because as I've branched out into more strange music artists besides Tech Nine, it's like I get out there and I mention it in social media and like nobody cares. I fell in love with Mayday and like nobody cared that I was wanting to do reviews. And I'm like, wow, maybe I shouldn't do those reviews then. Nobody cares. But yeah, definitely. And that's one of the important things that I feel we need more of in the underground is featuring. That's what Bukshot is killing shit with right now because he's doing all these collaborations everywhere. That's kind of what's got me so aggravated with the beef is and the divide is it's harming a lot of that. We don't have artists working with each other as much as we should because I feel like Big Hoodoo would have fucking killed it if he was somehow involved with Cabal, even if it was just through a feature. But if he would have done that, I could see fucking him getting blacklisted, Juggalos talking shit about him leaving. And that's just the sad part of it all.
Yeah, there's that. But I feel like, and this is like very recent, we're coming to a point where it's like you got dudes like Straight Jacket is like, dude, there's fucking money to be made. ABK, even on his, I can't remember what project it was, but the intro where he's like, "Yo, you want to go get this money real quick?" And he's like, "Man, the dude he's talking to is like, oh hell no, I ain't going to fuck with them." And he's like, "Well, peace the fuck out because I'm going to get some money." And I think it's coming to a point where people are just like, even Light,
Yeah.
Fucking with Bukshot is just like, and he even, I don't know if you saw his Instagram stories where he's like, "I'm a fan of Twisted. I like those guys. I appreciate them for taking me out on some tour that he did with them, and I would collaborate with them if the chance came up." So it's kind of like, hey man, you guys let it affect you. This ain't got nothing to do with me, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, I actually didn't see that story. I actually heard it from you.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of what I was meaning when I had mentioned in my video the first step to ending the beef, because it seems like ICP is starting to come around very slowly in the fact that they're willing to work with Straight Jacket, even though he's working with Twisted. That to me is a step in the right direction. Now, obviously, Yum Yum came out and some shit was said in the liner notes and all that, but at least it's a baby step in the right direction. We got a while to go, but I mean, ultimately that's what I want, is to just see them at least book and work with artists regardless of whether they've worked with Twisted.
And
that's the direction we need to be going,
and vice versa.
Yeah.
Although I think it's been more on ICP's part than Twisted's part when it comes to shit like that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I mean, but dudes in the underground coming together, that's the shit we need to keep the scene moving. Violent J and Shaggy are what? They got to be 50 at this point, or damn near close to it.
Yeah, I thought, well, let's see. In the Faygo Lovers interview in 2017, Jay said he was 44. So,
okay. So
that's what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
So he's getting close to 50.
So, yeah, we need these younger dudes, everybody. And I used to say it like Zool, Ouija, they're the future of the wicked shit. That I don't think that's a correct statement anymore. They are the wicked shit right now. This is the current state right now that we're in. It's not the future anymore. The future is now, as nonfiction would say.
Yeah.
So like we need shit like that. We need dudes like Bukshot to do his own thing and then form these super groups like he's doing with Kung Fu Vampire and then the Cabal Project. A la Zululu starting their own label, signing super famous Funtime guys. LSP, Scum, that dude's been grinding for fucking damn near 20 years, if not longer at this point. And they're still signing people. They just signed Darby O'Trill and getting ready to put out his new album. It's like we need these other dudes to bring in new dudes to keep this scene going.
Yeah. Yeah, because ICP and Twisted are not going to be around forever. And, it has to spread and grow.
Right. It's just it's the fucking fact of the matter. It's not, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
We need newer, younger cats to carry the torch. And we need the veterans to embrace it, which I feel like they are, trying to bring on new people. ICP, they say I get they don't want to sign new acts, but if they were to co-sign some acts, which is kind of what they've done in the, with like Hoodoo, Ouija, Light, Straitjacket, like that's a solid cosign right there,
And it sounds like they're planning to do that with Zitro as well.
Yeah, it said in the Yum Yum booklet that he was the newest artist.
Yeah, which made me go, what? I thought we weren't doing this anymore.
But then they still say that they're not signing artists
right
after the fact. It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I feel like they're just kind of a springboard now, help get people out there, which I'm cool with. You know what I mean? I want them to focus more on them. I've wanted them to focus more on themselves, and I'm okay with the occasional springboarding a new artist out there because I love discovering new music, especially if it's dope. I did go check out Zetro. I wasn't quite feeling it yet. Maybe we'll revisit him, but yeah, Gibby Stites, for instance. Just one day I was like, I've been sleeping on artists. This was after I think I discovered Lokey. I was like, I need to go check this artist out because I know he's a new one. And so I went and checked him out. And I was like, okay, dude can rap. I'm fucking with him. And then I reached out to a bunch of people and everyone was like, yeah, I'm gonna pass on him. I was like, God damn, just me, huh?
Yeah, just you.
I thought he was dope, but hey, music's not for everybody, right?
Oh, it's not. You're not going to win over everybody as a fan. And even if you do and you put out a whack project, it just is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
Zool they are those guys to me in the wicked shit, but after the Almighty they put out Mausoleum and I was like, again, I'm probably the only one that didn't like it, but I just personally wasn't feeling it. But speaking of Zool, I'm sure you've heard that they're working with Mikey Clark. Mikey Clark is back in the scene. I think that's like really good news that he's just even back in the scene because it's been so long.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of Zool and Mikey Clark working together?
I actually met that with a lot of optimism because I know the biggest reason he hasn't been working with ICP was because of Kid Rock. He's been working with Kid Rock and making more money through them or through him. So the fact that he's starting to focus that attention back down, I'm like, hell yeah. And I've actually been trying to find a good day. I want to wait and make sure I'm riding in the car to listen to some acts again because I'm finding myself falling in love with artists more if I listen to their albums in the car, because that's what happened with Ouija Macc. After the fucking prom show, I had to drive up to a town that's like an hour away. So I just put Dirtbag on and I'm like, okay, I can fuck with Ouija Macc now. So that's going to be my key, I think, is making sure I listen to an album in the car. So my plan is to find a good day, go check out the Almighty again, just because Into the Fire with Lokey was so goddamn good. And I'm like, oh, Axe killed it on this. And then people were like, oh, that's actually on the Almighty too. I'm like, I did not know that. So, I need to go check out some shit again. I know I need to.
And there's an extra verse from Lee Carver on there that's on the Almighty. Whereas the one on, was it End of Days?
Demon Days.
It's just Billy Obey and Joey Black. That was before Lee Carver joined the group, but that song, so fucking good. I would love to see Lokey and Axe work again. I feel like they work really well together. And a la Zululu, like you got Lokey, and then there's like branches from the Lokey tree. Zul is a branch off the Lokey tree.
That's what I thought. I thought I had heard that or seen that somewhere.
Yeah.
He helped them in some ways.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you look at, not saying that they ripped him off, but you can see influences there because, they both wear masks.
Yep. The masks, all that shit. Yeah, it's, the Lokey branch, there's a lot of Lokey branches, but Zool, they're definitely on that tree and they're killing shit. They're just the masks they put up, they sell out. Albums they put out, people fucking just go nuts for them. Like their merch game is killing it. And I love seeing dudes with crazy merch. The top 3 merch games right now, Zool, Ouija, and Mob Style, like all day.
Oh, look at the fucking shirt, man. This shit is quality.
Yeah, man. Like if you order anything from those guys, you are getting quality shit. I've ordered shit from Zool, quality. Ordered shit from Bukshot, quality. Ordered shit from Ouija. I'm wearing fucking Ouija hoodie right now, quality. Like it's super dope. And you know, one of the things is not ripping fans off, because there are people that do that shit and it's not cool, and you shouldn't. You know, you should lose supporters because of that shit. You know, I ordered I ended up getting my money back because I was like, you know, my 6 months on PayPal was coming up, and I was like, fuck it. Ordered Mad Child's last album that he put up. Pre-ordered that shit in June, and I was like, email, message after message, just unanswered. And I'm like, you know, it's $15, it's whatever, but it's the fucking
Principle.
the principle. And if you go on his pages, you look at the comments, people are like, still waiting for my merch. Or ordered it in July. It's like, dude, just get your fucking money back, man.
Yeah.
You're not getting it. People that rip off people in the underground scene is fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
It should be unacceptable. You know, and that's when the whole debacle of the gift bags from the Patreon streams. I'm like, yo, this is unacceptable. People are making up excuses for it, how it's okay. It's like, no, it's not okay. They promised us some shit, and
I've been getting comments from one guy who still has not gotten his December and October gift. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's still a couple that I see post up in the museum every once in a while, or you know, going through ICP's comments, seeing like, hey, I'm still waiting for my shit. You know, maybe they're joking, maybe not. But if they're not, you know, that sucks
very much.
Yeah, you can't. The scene is so small. You know, that word gets around quick if you're fucking ripping people off. And it's good to have guys like Mob Style.
Yeah.
Ouija. I mean, M&E, I've never had a problem with M&E store. Every time I've ordered from Psychopathic, I know people that have problems with everybody. I mean, there's going to be a problem here and there.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, anytime I've ordered from, it's now the Psychopathic Vault, but you know, Hatchet Gear, the Vault, or the other website, M&E, even them, Strange Music. I've never had any kind of problem, fortunately.
Yeah. My only gripe with M&E, and that was on my fault for not reading the fine print, was when I ordered Activated as well as Gibby Stites, the combo. They were waiting to send Activated until Gibby Stites came out, and I'm like, I mean, that was on me for doing that, but on the same hand, I was like, if you're going to offer this combo pack, you should probably still send the new album that just came out.
Yeah.
That was my only gripe. Otherwise, I've never had really any issues.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I'm like, oh, DC didn't read the fine print on that shit.
that was my fuck up.
Yeah, man. That's why anytime like they drop multiple albums that are like, because M&E does that. They have a lot of artists, or any label. A lot of labels do that. If you pre-order 2 items together, they will ship together whenever, you know, at the latest date of whatever comes out. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just going to spend extra money on shipping because I want my shit right away.
Yeah. Apple Music has helped me in that aspect because now I can listen to the album when it comes out, depending on the release. Like Mob Style Christmas, that one I had to kind of wait for because I did wait to order it. But usually that's what I've been doing. Like with King ISO's new album, my plan is to listen to it when it comes out on Apple Music and then order it because I don't need any more signed T-shirts that won't fit me or any more fucking signed books that I'm just throwing in a shoebox that my shoebox is falling apart because it's full of shit. So that's my plan with that. But that's kind of been the direction I've been going, is listening to more Apple Music kind of shit.
Same. I think the last CD, like new CD, because there's some old albums. You know, I listen to a lot of different music. There's some albums that just aren't on digital that I'll break out a CD for. But I think the last album I listened to, new album, like put the CD in my car and listen to it, was probably Double Dragon. And then after that, I was like, I can double support the artist by buying the CD, having the CD, and then giving them 0.002 cents per stream.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's better than nothing.
Right.
And now that, and when I discovered Apple Music offered lossless music, that's when I was like, oh, I'm just going to stream music. I'm not even going to listen to CDs anymore because I can get the same CD quality on a stream now that I would if I just played the CD.
Yeah. That's probably the route I'm going to go, because one of the Joker's Gallery mentioned it. He was surprised that Cabal wasn't my album of the year. And I told him, I said, I have to purely go by the numbers of what I listen to the most. And unfortunately, Cabal wasn't accurately counted because I went in there and uploaded it on my iTunes as Cabal, not Bukshot, Lokey, and Mr. Gray. So I think I'm going to stop uploading my CDs to iTunes and just fucking add the digital copy to my library like that.
Yeah.
That's probably the way I'm going to start going with it.
Yeah. Like Double Dragon didn't even make my top 10 listened albums on Apple Music, but that's because I was bumping the CD.
Mm-hmm.
If you counted all those plays on the CD, it'd probably be top 5 easily. Like Low-Key's Metanoia was like number 3, but that's only because like it had let's just say 300 plays, but that's 9 songs played 300 times, and then like Tech Nine's album had like 530 plays. Well, that's because that album has 20 songs on it, and I'm listening to every song all the time, so it's going to count up more plays. So if you just do the math on it, you could really figure out what you listen to the most. But I like how Apple Music does that too, and Spotify, like all those digital, like they show you what you listen to. I think that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I had a lot of albums that didn't come out in 2021 on my list, so
I saw Collective Soul on your shit. I'm like, wow, they're still around. Like Collective Soul's still a thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't listened to a lot of their newer stuff. I think they put an album out like 2-3 years ago, but they've kind of established like a cult following now. As far as I know, they don't play on the radio, but I don't listen to the radio like that anymore. Right. So, but yeah, they're still doing it. They're great musicians, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that's fucking dope. Last year, almost made my top 10 on Apple Music was Soulja Slim's album from 1998. I listened to the fuck out of that album last year on Apple Music. It's cool that it tracks shit like that, and you can see. Like I was surprised to see. I'll be honest. ICP in my top 5 most listened to artists last year. I was like, I listened to ICP that much, and then thinking back on it, I was bumping like the Forgotten Freshness albums a lot last year because I had finally gotten a copy of, was it 6? That was the newest one that came out, the yellow one. And I was like, I'm just gonna go back and listen to all the Forgotten Freshness albums. And then doing that, I'm like, man, I haven't heard fucking Terror Wheel in a long ass time. Let me go listen to fucking Terror Wheel. Shit, Terror Wheel's so dope, man. Tunnel of Love's my second favorite EP from the first deck. Let me go listen to that shit. So, it's cool how it tracks. Like I barely listen to Lure, Yum Yum Bedlam, but to have ICP in my top 5, just listening to all the other shit. I bumped the Phantom EP a whole lot last year. That EP's that's some of the best shit they've done in this second.
Oh, yeah, hands down, yeah.
I love that EP, man. No More Jail. Like, it's like, why didn't those songs make Missing Link, man?
Who knows? Like, Megs, my wife, she says all the time that she doesn't understand why the songs that were on the outtakes were there. I don't either. Maybe they just felt like it wasn't really following what they wanted for the theme of the album, but that don't make sense to me either.
They could have put a really good project together if they would have just took, like, if I were to take all the best songs from Lost, Found, Outtakes, Phantom, put it on and just make a playlist, I probably could come up with 17 ill-ass songs, to compile an album. For sure.
Yeah, I did something similar. What I did is I took the songs on Lost that I felt were weaker and added the ones from the outtakes that were stronger and kept it at the 14. So it was almost as if the album came out normally like it did, but with these instead of this. Like The Neighbors Are Fighting, I took off. I Keep My Hatchet. I think that was the name of the fucking song. But I took shit like that off where they were experimenting with that sound where they just repeated themselves. It was like, I took that out and I put Joey the Butcher, The Dream, fucking Why'd I Have to Die, that kind of shit ended up on there. And that's actually in a playlist now on my Apple Music, because that to me is the only way to listen to it. There's a few mixing issues because obviously they didn't mix it to fit the album that way, but it still sounds really good that way.
Yeah. And that's the other good thing with Apple Music is you can just compile, or with digital streaming, it doesn't matter what fucking service you use. You can just compile your own shit, and you have everything at the touch of a dime. Like I said, listening to Terror Wheel, like classic. And I was actually just bumping Terror Wheel again last week. That fucking EP, man, is just so good. I love that shit.
I
Going
personally
back,
gravitate more to Beverly Kills, but yes, Terror Wheel is dope.
see, my favorite is probably Beverly Kills. But damn, I just love going back, listening to old shit at the fucking just a touch, just a
Yeah.
touch, and then going listening to new shit, whatever or whatever. It's just super dope, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad ICP finally has finally. It took them a while to embrace the digital age. They were kind of lost in the sauce for a few years. There were certain albums. I remember when Wraith Shangri-La wasn't even on streaming. That was just a few years ago.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember I was like, damn, I want to listen to Shangri-La. I go look for it. I'm like, ain't even fucking on streaming. What is up with this? You
Damn.
know? And there were other albums they didn't have up on streaming. But it's good to see them embrace the shit. What else what you been listening to anything what have you been listening to lately?
In the last week, Class and Ouija Macc. That fucking what was the name of that EP that just dropped with Ouija Macc and Death Note? What was that called? C? Just
See,
called C? See? That fucking album is fire. Why is it
really
only 4 tracks?
all their EPs. So that's like their fifth EP that they've done together.
Really?
They have REJ3, now C. So I think they're just going to put out. I think the last one is going to be T. So it's going to be Reject. That's every EP that they've done. R was 4 tracks. E was 4 tracks.
Okay.
J's 4 tracks.
So basically put them all together into a playlist and you got a fucking album. Okay, I'm about to go do that shit when we're done here.
Yep. And Ouija Macc actually released REJ on CD when he did the pre-orders for Hell's Hollow Tape. Ouija likes doing the thing like every 1 in 5 orders will get this thrown into it, or if you order 5 copies of the album, you'll automatically get it in the package.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, and I'm not going to order 5 copies of an album.
Right.
So I got lucky and got that REJ CD. So hopefully at some point the other parts will be released on CD and I could have them. That's the collector in me speaking. People that listen to digital don't give a fuck, but that EP is really good. I think that's their best one yet, in my opinion.
Okay. It was an interesting sound, and that's why I fucking took that screenshot of my Twitter response to you, because I was like, this sounds like some shit that juggalos I've heard complain about, auto tuning, and I'm like, I wonder how many people are giving a double standard because it's Ouija. So that's why I put that out there, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, I loved it, I loved it." Like, that wasn't really my question. Is, do you like other shit that's auto tuned, or is this just the exception?
It could be just the exception. Ouija been doing auto tune shit since Swagtooth.
Okay.
You go back to Swagtooth auto tune. He had auto tune on Gutter Water. Pretty much every project you hear a little bit. Sometimes it's more pronounced than others, but pretty much every project he got auto tune on there. And it could be the exception for me. I listen to guys like Young Thug. They use a lot. He uses a lot of auto tune. So it's not the exception for me personally.
Yeah.
I thought if I like the music, I like it. It doesn't really matter to me. I listen to some. You look at my CD collection. If you really look at it and look at every album, you listen to this. I mean, yeah, I do. You know,
Yeah,
but
my musical sounds have changed, and actually, Megs and I were doing some shit upstairs, and I was listening to Jackie O Beats Volume 3, and she looks up, she's like, "What the fuck are we listening to?" I was like, "This is low key." She's like, "Can we change it?" So she's not as big of a rap fan
yeah,
as I am, and a lot of it I think is strange music has kind of changed and conditioned what I will listen to now. So it just cracked me up that she said that. I was like, okay. So I asked her what she wanted to listen to. She said, "What are you in the mood for?" And I told her what I've been listening to because some of it's been a little bit of King ISO prepping for Get Well Soon. So I put on World War Me. We get halfway through, and I asked her, said, "What are you thinking of the album?" She's like, I'm like, okay. So apparently my styles and sounds that I like are changing.
that,
So
that's dope though. You know, uh, finding new shit, finding new sounds that you like.
mhm.
You know, it's if you know if you told me I'd be listening to auto tune shit 6 7 years ago, I hated auto tune shit. But then slowly but surely, I'm like, all right, I can't deny this is a good fucking song. Like this is just a good song. And then
Yeah.
you know dig into the discographies or whatever, and it's like, all right, maybe I do like this shit now. Like it's kind of undeniable. I have 12 Young Thug albums on my fucking phone now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And a good example of that too for me was when Abaddon came out, I really liked Betrayal. So I went and listened to some of Crucifix's stuff and I kind of went like that to it. But since then I've gone back and re-listened to Acid Rain and I'm like, I like this now. So
That's the other thing is features. Features getting put on to artists but with a feature. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like there are artists out there that I call feature artists. They're just better as a feature artist. Like I like them on somebody else's album versus listening to their album.
that was kind of how I felt about Buckshot for the longest time. But that fucking Buck Snap, I went back and listened to his solo shit and I'm like, it hits different now.
It does. I don't know why I slept on his shit. I just I don't know. I just didn't like it. But the last couple years, man, it's just kind of undeniable. Like, oh, this dude puts out good music. Like,
I guess for me, I always assumed he did more of like a gangster rap style, but when I went back and listened to the Helter Skelter albums, I'm like, this is wicked shit.
yeah,
So
yeah.
for
And
me, one thing,
sometimes it's just there's too many people to try to listen to too, and you want to give something a try, but really there's this other album that you've been listening to that
mhm,
you're like, I just I might like this someday, but right now it's just I want to listen to this other album.
yeah, and I think that's kind of where my tunnel vision affects me is especially and sometimes features can be a bad thing because I'll listen to an album, hear the featured artist, and I'm like, I haven't listened to this in a while. And then I will leave immediately and go listen to that. I've had that happen too much.
Yeah, it's funny. You brought up Class. You know, he's getting ready to drop his album in a couple weeks, or maybe it's already out. I don't know when I'm releasing this episode, but uh, what do you think of Class? I've been fucking with Class since 08, 09, something like that.
I've been sleeping on Class through the UGA albums. I really liked his shit, but I never went and checked him out. And I don't remember what it was that brought it up. I think you had tweeted something, so I went and I listened to Revenge Article 3, and I'm like, this is dope. So I went and listened to the other ones, and then I went back and listened to F Me F You. I'm like, fuck, dude, Class is killing it. He's dope, absolutely fucking dope.
He is. I think I've only listened to Article 3, and I've only listened to it like once or maybe twice when it first came out. And it's sounding like this album is going to be like his best shit
It is.
that he's putting out. Like it sounds really that's that track with what is it, ROC and Kung Fu Vampire?
Yeah, Devil May Cry.
That shit is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I'm excited for his album to drop.
He has one on Article 1 called What Does That Make You? Out of all of the three articles, that's probably one of my favorite songs of his right now. He has one. He has one on Article 1 called "God Damn It." I'm curious about. So when you hear that song, I want to talk to you because I don't want to get my brain straight. I don't want to perpetuate beef or anything like that. But I'm curious who or what he's talking about at the 25-second mark of that song. So if you can remember 25 seconds of "God Damn It," I want to know what your thoughts are on that.
Interesting. I'm sure. I'll, even if I don't remember it specifically, I'm sure I'll fucking hear it and be like, "Huh?"
Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you, he references gutter water and says, "You won't fuck with me because of Emily." That's part of the line there.
Well,
So
that goes back to what we were talking about earlier: is artists not affiliating with other artists because of an affiliation with another label or whatever, and that just needs to stop.
yeah, definitely.
You know, we could be potentially missing out on really dope collaborations with people because, you know, but you know, at the same time, on the flip side of that, you know, loyalty is a motherfucker. If you're loyal to a motherfucker, you ride or die, like literally ride or die for that guy, then there's no problem with it. I could see that side too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, for the fans, it's unfortunate.
It
You know,
is.
any beef situation, it doesn't have to be just strictly that. You know, if you've listened to hip hop long enough, there's been at some point an artist you fuck with, two artists you fuck with, start beefing, and you're like, oh man, what the fuck? Why are they beefing? Like, I love these guys, man. They were
Yeah.
so dope together, you know.
Something hilarious about that was I had a fucking juggler reach out to me wanting me to listen to Mystic Styles or Mystic Sounds by 3 6 Mafia. So I went and checked it out, and I'm like, God damn, dude. I always thought they were more trappy style, but that album gave me Bone Thugs and Harmony vibes. And I mentioned that to him, and he goes that he basically had said that Bone Thugs was a ripoff of 3 6 Mafia. And I was like, I didn't know nothing about none of that shit.
There's a song on Mystic Styles where they're dissing Bone Thugs.
Yeah, I know. I went back and saw that. Usually in the morning, I'm with somebody who has to vacuum apartments. So half the time I'm listening to music, I can't hear it as well as I should because of this
Right.
vacuum cleaner. That song played while he was vacuuming, and I didn't hear shit about that. And I went back and saw, I was like, wait, Bone Diss. I'm like, fuck.
Yep.
I put my foot in my mouth and made myself look unobservant as a motherfucker.
Hey, it's the learning process, I guess. But yeah, that I mean, you know, 3 6 as they went on, they developed more of a commercial sound. But that Mystic Styles album, that's like horrorcore wicked shit at its finest. A lot of devil talk on there and all that shit. Like they were crazy with it. Lord Infamous and Koopsta, like, man, rest in peace to those guys. They went real hard with that devil shit back in the day. Super dope. I love that shit.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. 3 6.
Right.
I never put that together.
Yeah, 666. Yeah.
Yeah, I never put that together. Not until around the time that DJ Paul was fucking with Psychopathic, and I was like, I put that together. And I was like, it makes sense.
That album he put out on Psychopathic was fire.
I've never listened to it.
Master of Evil, really good album. But yeah, I love 3 6 Mafia. I forget what we were talking about before that. I lost my train of thought.
Well, we went from Class to Beef to 3 6 Mafia.
Okay, but yeah, 3 6 is the shit. The project they did with ICP, the Killjoy Club. Granted, it wasn't, you know, I mean, Lord Infamous had already died at that point, and Juicy J and Gangsta Boo weren't in the picture, but still, that was a dope project that I thought would never happen. I mean, I remember that album being talked about way back in the day when they first started collaborating with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting, the Killjoy Club album and how well it actually worked. I'm sure the traditional 3 6 Mafia fan probably listened to it, was like, nah, this ain't it.
See, I went into that album not sure what to expect because at that point I wasn't a fan of 3 6 Mafia. I wasn't a fan of that trap style. And I was like, I'm curious how this will work. And it was because of ICP that I listened to it. And it was them and Young Wicked that made me really enjoy it. And now that I'm starting to tune more to the trap style, that album is more enjoyable as my musical taste grows. But talking about Killjoy Club, that's one of the things in my own head that I kind of wish and want to have happen is I don't want ICP to put out a third set of Joker cards. I want them to release the next Joker card and then start doing more EPs, start doing more group projects with other underground artists. I feel like that to me is a better direction for them, especially with health issues that have come up. That to me is a direction I'd like to see them go rather than continue the Joker card saga. Because I feel like 6 or 2 sets of 6 is perfect. But that's just me.
I thought 1 set of 6 was perfect.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. That's an interesting thought. I mean, at this point, it took them, what we're going on, 15 years, 13, 14 years since Death Pop, and we just got the 5th card out.
Yeah.
So it's taken them way longer of a time to get out 6 than it did the first time. Took what, 10 years the first time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're moving at a much slower pace, and that's why I feel like a third set's just not in the cards, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'd have to wait and see. They said they would give us, well, it would be 5, the third deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be interesting. Yeah,
but yeah, what Buckshot's doing made me realize I actually want to see more group projects like that, because to me it's interesting how well certain artists can mix and mesh wonderfully.
Yeah, I was watching the 5-piece show, Joker's Gallery, Mike Sears and Luke, the other day, where they were doing top 5 solo albums, and I think it was Luke brought up the point that this scene is very group heavy. There's not a lot of solo artists, or maybe bigger solo artists, and I feel like that's kind of true. And we there's always talks of like, oh, I would love to see this group happen. If these guys formed a group, it's always like a group versus, oh, I'd love to see this guy go solo, put out a solo album. I don't think I've ever recalled anybody saying about Zool like, oh, I want a Joey Black solo album or a Billy Obey solo album. It's just like, no, I want a fucking Zool album. I like,
Yeah.
Whereas I could remember back in the day saying, would love a Violent J solo album, even though the albums are majority Violent J anyway,
Mm-hmm.
or a solo Shaggy album. Then you get them, and then it's like, it's cool, but it's just not the same as an ICP album.
Yeah.
And it just works better when they're as a group versus solo. But it's just funny that this scene in particular, it's so group heavy, and that you would like, we would like to see more groups happen. I didn't know I wanted a Mr. Gray Lokey Bukshot album.
Well, we
I
got
didn't know
it,
I wanted that shit. It ended up being really fucking good. I didn't know that I wanted Ouija Macc and Light to collaborate on a Little Riders project until that one song got leaked, and I was like, oh no, I do want this to happen.
It needs to still happen, and I hope it does.
I would love for that shit to happen. Like I said last week on my show, not the biggest Light fan, but he's one of those artists I like as a feature. When he's on a song with somebody, I don't know what it is, but it's just super dope. I would love a Little Riders album to happen. I'd like to see ICP do a Riders album like M&E did. Bring Hoodoo into it. Bring Ouija and Light into it. Bring whoever into it and do their own Riders album.
Yeah, they need to. And I think that's a lot of what really took me on that thought process of wanting them to do more group projects rather than doing the next set of Joker cards, was listening to Riders. And I was like, hearing them do this different style is dope. and I want them to do more of that. I mean, even with Killjoy Club, they were doing a style that was different.
Yeah.
So that's what they
And
need
the
to do
and the
more
and the
of.
Riders was always a revolving door.
Mhm.
You know, it was just depending on who was on the label at the time. You know, first album had Misery was on there. You had Isham was in the group at one point, Boondocks, Killa, they were all in the group, you know? It's so to me, like when M&E did it, I wasn't mad at it. It's Riders. It's the same excuse people gave ABK for the shitty pressing of the CD. I'm like, it's the same fucking thing over here. It's the
Yeah.
same shit over here. It's Riders. Who gives a fuck? It's always been a revolving door of members anyway.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the things that I accepted about it right away. I was like, dude, this is Riders. It's all about they're not Twisted in ICP. They're Riders. They're their own entity. And this helps explain what happened to the Riders with ICP and Twisted fucking beefing. You know what I mean? This whole new set was fucking formed. And I love the shout out that was on I'm gonna be a rider. That was dope.
Mm.
But I don't see it ever happening with them forming their own clique. The Psychopathic Riders needs to continue. Little Riders needs to come out.
That shit.
There's
It
so
would be
much
dope.
dope.
I'd love to hear Bullet in full clip again. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Rapping
exactly.
over some uh whatever production. You know, you never knew what you know, they went from the first album just like 90s, 90s hip hop. Granted, that album came out what 2000, but that was just like the raw grimy shit. And then by like the third album, they're rapping over like Nelly's Air Force Ones and all this other crazy shit. You know, like
Yeah.
super mainstream music at the time. And I would love to see what they would do at this point. Like I would bring it.
I, I have said for a few years now that Katy Perry's song Dark Horse, that beat as a Riders track would be fire.
That's a dope beat. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I listened to that song when it came out. I was like, oh my God, if the Riders was to jack this, they would bring some fucking fire.
Seriously, like, yeah, like you could just jack whatever, man. I would love to see a Riders project. I don't think, I don't know if people don't think about that enough or care enough, but I fucking put whoever on the album. I don't put Straight Jacket on the album. That should be dope.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, right now, if you look at if you look at the Psychopathic affiliates, you got Big Hoodoo and you have Ouija and you have DJ Clay.
Mm,
That right there is still a solid roster with Full Clip and Bullet.
yeah,
So
that would be a dope album right there. You know, I forgot about Clay, but his last album, I don't know if you heard that album that he put out, Over the Fear of.
mhm,
That was a fire album.
it
Really
was.
good album.
It was fire when I finally fucking got it. Talking about ripping people off, man. That motherfucker took over a month to send me that. I remember being salty as a motherfucker too.
I got my shit pretty quick, but yeah, that's shitty. I hate that shit. I really do. People taking their time to ship shit out. But the music, that album, I was really surprised because like the Clay mixtapes on Psychopathic, they were cool, but it wasn't like DJ Clay. Like you'd have a DJ Clay verse or song here and there.
Yeah,
Um, Addicted, is that the song that he has?
yeah,
I'm addicted. I love that fucking track. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect from a DJ Clay album. And I was pleasantly surprised when I was like, oh, wow, this is really fucking good. Like, where's the follow up to that shit?
yeah. He seems to be going the podcast route like a lot of people are. That seems to just be a thing. Like artists now apparently are doing that because I seen Light had mentioned it too.
Yeah. It's, podcasting is, or doing live, some sort of live stream is like, it's the thing right now. And everybody's doing it.
Everybody but me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do the live stream thing. Fuck that. I've toyed with it here and there, but it's cool to watch. That like the ICP streams are fun to watch. Um, Monoxide hopping on and just shooting the shit and being like, "Oh, hey, we got an album dropping in 2 months, but we're not gonna we're not promoting it, but I'm telling you now, an album is dropping in 2 months, and then sure enough, 2 months later goes by, and it's like, oh, Twisted's dropping a new album, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to get tidbits like that. You know, Zool, they have their own live stream. DJ Clay, fucking Shaggy and the Creep Show, they're killing it.
Yeah.
Super dope to see Shaggy doing that shit, taking like a leadership role, if you will, with Keegan.
And I've noticed since he's done that, watching interviews and shit like that, Shaggy's more vocal now. He
Yeah.
speaks up more, and
Yeah.
that surprised me. So that's definitely been good for him.
If you go back to interviews back in the day, he was just kind of in the back in the cut, just ad libbing here and there, and it would be all Jay. But now it's Shaggy's doing his own thing, and he has more of a voice now when they do interviews. It's dope. I'd like to see I'll always welcome a solo Shaggy project, because people love to bitch and complain that where's Shaggy on the Joker's cards? Where's Shaggy on the Joker's cards? I get it, but go back to the fucking first Joker's card.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been predominantly Violent J. Just every card. It's just, that's the way it is. I get it. You want more Shaggy, but it's just always been that way.
That's one gripe about Yum Yum I didn't understand. Like, everybody was saying that was one thing that album needed more of, was Shaggy. And I'm like, this isn't new, though. That's what makes Shaggy solo albums so fucking dope, because we get fucking Shaggy.
Right.
So when people were complaining about that, and I'd even seen where Mikey Clark had mentioned that. And people were like, oh, do you think that means that there's actually a version with Shaggy? I'm like, no, I think he's basically saying what everybody else is saying, that he wanted to hear more Shaggy. But
they did that when Fred dropped too, Fearless Fred. I remember that was a complaint, because he was pretty solid on the album in the beginning, but then towards, like, when you got about halfway through, and then like it was pretty much no Shaggy on the album. People were like, where's Shaggy? Where's Shaggy? I'm like, I don't know. Where's Shaggy on fucking Great Malenko, Riddlebach?
Exactly. That's what I was going to point out, is Great Malenko.
Yeah.
I mean, because at this point, it's kind of like, what do you consider Shaggy not being on there? Is it where he's not ad-libbing, or does he need to actually have a verse? Because he ad-libbed like a motherfucker throughout both Yum Yum and Fearless Fred Fury. It's just the verses that I think a lot of people missed.
Yeah, he would always have those parts in songs where he's just fucking yelling or whatever. Dead Body Man, we got bodies. He doesn't have a verse on there, but he's still on the track. Mm-hmm. And it's like that on a bunch of songs. But yeah, that's one complaint I don't get, and I won't see the other side of. And I can't see the other side of, just because it's always been a certain way. It's just always been, Violent J's always been the front guy.
Yeah.
And predominantly on albums.
Yeah, you could essentially say Insane Clown Posse is Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, like Violent J featuring Shaggy 2 Dope.
Yeah. I mean, Shaggy kills it, especially in the last few years. Like his rapping and his pen game is really on point. Like that Gloomy Sunday EP was fire. That shit was dope.
Yeah, I went back and listened to Fuck the Fuck Off Motherfucker like 2-3 weeks ago, and immediately went to Gloomy Sunday. I was like, damn, he needs to just do more of these little EPs, even,
Yeah. Yeah, that first EP the Fuck Off EP, so dope. The Gloomy Sunday EP. Again, I was watching that top 5 solo albums the other night, and they were talking about Fuck the Fuck Off, his first full-length album. And I was like, man, like, They Shootin' is such a fucking hard track. I love that shit.
That explains your tweet. I seen that. I was like, that was kind of random. But yeah.
I was getting I got hyped watching that show, and they played the clip of that song, that beat, and that hook. Oh man, they shooting bullets at my motherfucking head. Ba bam bam bam.
Yeah, when there was one time when my nephew was little, I would sing that with headphones on, and he would start giggling at me doing the bam 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 part.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he understood at all, but that's always a good memory with that song for me.
Oh yeah, I'd like to see more solo Shaggy shit. But then again, I'd like to see I just like to see ICP shit too. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's one complaint. I never understand when an album comes out. Where's Shaggy? You know?
Yeah.
It's like, whatever, man. But I think I'm gonna wrap this bitch up, DC. I appreciate you having coming on the show, man. It was super dope. Glad to get you back on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.
Let's not wait 2.5 years.
Yeah. The goal this year, like I said, is to have more guests and, you know, just pump out more content. Appreciate you. You know, go peep out DC's 2 cents. He gives you his 2 cents even when you didn't think you fucking needed it. And album reviews. I think you put out some of the better, doper album reviews in this scene. I always, even for albums I don't fuck with, I'm like, I'm just gonna see what he says about this album. And I like your album reviews. So yeah.
That's the core of it. That's where I started, was with album reviews. So everything else came after.
Fuck yeah. Anything you want to plug or anything before we hop out?
Just fucking, you keep killing it, man. You're fucking killing it right now. You're easily in my top 5 favorite podcasts. I would even say top 3. I don't watch a lot of podcasts because I don't have the time for it. But usually if I'm going to be having background something playing while I'm on my Switch, if there's a new episode of Beneath the Dirt, that's what's playing. I don't comment a lot, but the shit's playing. And if I fall asleep, then there's usually like a good history of your episodes that's played. So
that's funny. I appreciate the kind words, man. And yeah, go peep out DCFaygoGuy on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully we get this, you know, keep grinding with this, having guests on and all that shit. But I'm Rollbone of the Beneath the Dirt podcast, and until next time, I'm out. Peace.